Kayla, run! Chad shouted to his underdressed female acquaintance. She grabbed the dog by the collar, and her bloodied, slim figure bolted toward their car. The bear held Chad tightly to the ground, with its jaws clenched around his upper arm, holding him down with massive force. He tried to pull his restrained arm away, but the dead grip the bear had on it only caused his flesh to sever, making quick work of it, with its teeth grinding into his forearm muscles, turning his arm, in appearance, into a butchered chicken wing. He swung his other fist into the bear's side, which only seemed to further aggravate the creature. It moved up on his body like a hefty wrestler, held his arms down with its massive forepaws, and wrapped its jaws around his face. "Oh my God!" Brett exclaimed as he began shouting profanities. Its breath reeked of dead fish and rotting flesh as it began tearing Chad's face off. What's up, guys? Iceman here. So this bear attack happened relatively recently, and it is absolutely horrifying, especially with how the bear went about and continued on with this attack. But first off, I'd like to thank you guys for all your support on this channel, and welcome to all my new subscribers. If you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And if you want to support me further, you can become a channel member or a patron. Links in the description below. And blessings to my channel members and patrons. You make these videos possible. So let's get into this chilling tale. Kayla was only 22 years old at the time of the attack. She never imagined such a majestic animal could act the way this one did. She became acquainted with Chad on Tinder and was intrigued by his bad boy attitude, tough guy persona, and experience with women. It was unusual for him to make so much time for her like he did that October day when they embarked on a picnic at the Blue Ridge Parkway. They would normally only see each other once a week or so, and the meetings would be short and quick, mostly at Brett's apartment, but nonetheless, the outing was fine and enjoyable for the both of them, until it wasn't. The Blue Ridge Parkway, although not officially designated as a national park, encompasses an incredible range of wildlife and is situated in a stunning location, spanning nearly 469 miles through the Blue Ridge Mountains. The parkway offers a unique and diverse habitat for numerous species. The location of the Blue Ridge Parkway is particularly noteworthy. It connects the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in North Carolina to the Shenandoah National Park in Virginia, creating a continuous stretch of preserved wilderness. The geographical position allows for the movement and interaction of wildlife between these two major protected areas. The parkway itself is surrounded by lush forests, meandering rivers, and rolling hills. One of the most iconic inhabitants of the Blue Ridge Parkway is the black bear. These majestic creatures can often be spotted foraging for food or crossing the road, especially during the early morning or evening hours. Visitors are advised to maintain a safe distance and not to approach or feed the bears, as they are wild animals and should be respected as such. Additionally, the parkway is home to a variety of other animals, such as white-tailed deer, bobcats, red foxes, and gray squirrels. Avian enthusiasts will find the Blue Ridge Parkway to be a bird watcher's paradise. Over 200 species of bird have been recorded in the area, including the vibrant scarlet tanager, the melodious wood thrush, and the regal bald eagle. The couple were having a picnic when the attack occurred. Kayla laid out a quilt, hoping for some closeness with Chad, as he wasn't very affectionate with her aside from the weekly intimate encounters they would have at his apartment. He was older than her more rugged, and not all that interested in her personality. But nonetheless, she persisted to get to know him more, asking him of the various tattoos he had strewn across his arms, upper body, and neck. It may have been because she was distracted at the time, but she neglected to pay any attention to her dog, who, at this point, has been off-leash for several minutes in the densely wooded area. It was then that they heard the sound of the dog barking relentlessly, as if it encountered an intruder that wasn't letting up. The concerned duo sprung to their feet and ran toward the dark wooded area to find the startled animal. Kayla stopped in her tracks as she spotted her dog viciously barking at a black bear. With the bear not letting up or backing away, Kayla called her dog, and it came running back to her. This may have triggered a chase response from the bear, as it bolted after the dog, coming directly toward the defenseless couple. The dog ran to Kayla, who then grabbed it by the collar, only for the bear to approach her aggressively. With its head low and ears back, the dog tried to spin back around to face the bear, but couldn't. Kayla held its collar tightly and didn't want it to make matters worse. The bear taunted Kayla and took a light but fast swat at her bare leg, drawing blood in an instant, and then held back to consider her reaction. She turned her back to it and attempted to run back to her car, and that's when the bear tackled her to the ground. She released the dog as the bear relentlessly dug into her, clawing at her face, her belly, her arms, and her neck, taking a quick bite at her narrow shoulder, effectively dislocating it with such power. Chad, not knowing what to do, shouted at the bear and waved his arms at it, but his attempt to dissuade it was futile. He ran up to it and tried to pull it off of her, grabbing it by the hair around its neck and digging his fingernails in as best he could. He began yanking on its skin with the fur clad between his fingers. The bear gave out a loud bellow and turned to Chad's wrist and crunched its jaws around his bone, hurling him onto the ground as if performing a single-handed over-the-shoulder judo throwdown. Chad slammed against the ground on his back, and the bear tore into him. He fought and wrestled the creature, but it was determined. Kayla, bloodied as she was, made the short trek back to the vehicle along with her dog. She unlocked the doors, jumped in, and pulled the dog in with her, and slammed the door shut. She could see the tussle between Chad and the bear, only about 50 feet away. Chad kicked and pulled, and managed to escape the bear's grasp. He backed away, facing it, waving his arms and shouting at it, an attempt to look big and intimidating. The bear, unfazed, pursued him, head low and ears back, digging its claws into the ground out of aggression. Chad turned and ran as fast as he could, the bear pursuing him. He ran to the opposite side of the vehicle and pulled open the passenger door and made his way in. The bear stood on its hind legs as it approached the car and began swiping at the window right near the terrified man's face. It climbed up onto the hood of the vehicle and began slamming its forearms into the metal, pulverizing the hood, then making its way to the windshield and doing the same. They could see the look of death in its eyes as it snarled and hissed, dragging its claws down the windshield. Kayla slammed on the horn, and the piercing sound seemed to concern the creature, causing it to jump off the hood of the car and hesitantly step away from the vehicle. She managed to turn the key in the ignition and start the engine. The sound was enough to scare the bear back into the woods, back into the darkness from which it came. Kayla and Chad headed to the nearest hospital and had their injuries assessed. A statement by the park services had this to say about the incident. Likely aggravated by the dog, the bear acted defensively toward the dog and the couple. Over the next several minutes, there were repeated attacks by the bear, while the couple retreated with their dog to the safety of their vehicle. And here's a statement that the Parkway's Public Affairs Office had to say. It is not at all uncommon for a bear to bluff charge, pop their jaws, huff, stomp their feet, etc. when they encounter a dog, on or off leash. However, this attack was unusual in that the bear was uncharacteristically aggressive and continued to pursue the human subjects involved after the dog was removed, and continued to attack the couple's vehicle after they were all inside of it, and the threat was effectively removed, being the dog. This is not typical or characteristic defensive bear behavior and indicates a more predatory response. This presents an intolerable level of risk in a high-use public area. Colleen Olfenbuttel, who is a black bear and fur-bearer biologist, had this to say about the incident. The black bear that repeatedly attacked a man and a woman who were picnicking that evening at the Folk Art Center in Asheville was exhibiting dangerously aggressive and extremely rare behavior that included climbing on top of the couple's car once they had fought off the bear and continuing to attack even once they were inside the car, even though the shepherd mix dog was unleashed in violation of the Parkway's rules. Colleen said the people acted appropriately. They called their dog, and their dog came. It listened to the owners and came, but the bear followed, even though the bear had plenty of escape routes. Thankfully, their car was nearby, said Colleen. One of the victims pretty much fought off the bear with his hands, so his female companion and the dog could get into the car safely. And then he was finally able to get into the car. Once they were in the car, the bear continued to be aggressive, to the point of getting on top of the car, which ended up being covered in scratches from the bear. If not for the proximity of their car, I really think one of the victims would likely have been even more seriously injured or maybe even killed, said Colleen. So apparently after this incident, they closed down the park for a few days and set up a bunch of traps for the bear, which was estimated to be about a 200-pound young male. The problem ended up being that a bunch of raccoons and other animals would get stuck in the traps, so they ended up removing the traps. And evidently, thousands of people began commenting on social media asking for the bear not to be killed, claiming it was an innocent bear that was provoked, and so forth. To my understanding, they never ended up catching this bear, and it was recommended for people not to have headphones in while walking through the trails and to carry bear spray, which can be found at any of their outdoor stores. Jeez, what do you guys think about that situation? It's crazy to me how the bear, once again, wasn't even all that large, as it was estimated to be only around 200 pounds. And another shocking thing is how it wasn't just one solo person walking around and the bear decided to attack predatorily, but it was two people just hanging out on a blanket or whatever, and their dog provoked the thing. And of course the bear chased the dog back, as we have seen several times before in these occurrences, which can often lead then to an attack on the humans. I think the bear at that point is in a fight response, and as opportunistic as black bears are, they realize they've already went past their normal barriers, no pun intended, so at that point, maybe they should try to take the opportunity of getting a quick meal out of a human or two, which seems to be what happened here. But yeah, it's crazy how they had no means of protection on them, but yet managed to get away and into the car. And as that parks lady stated, if it weren't for the car being so close by, the outcome may have been vastly different. But what I find most unusual about this is how once they were in the damn vehicle, the bear jumped up on top of it and tried to get in continually. It's crazy because at that point, they're obviously not a threat to it any longer, and they're no longer even exposed to it directly, but yet it continued to pursue them. That is quite concerning in my opinion, and even more reason why you should be on alert in bear country. But let me know what you guys think about this incident. What do you think could have been done differently in this scenario? Comment below your thoughts on these matters. And again, if you want to help me out, you can like this video, subscribe to the page, and stay tuned for more chilling tales from the Iceman.